Okay, Cellini spiral. Here we go. I am using 8 colours and I have laid them out on my bead mat in the order that I'm going to use them. So let me just run through them. I've got a 6, 3 8s, 3 11s and a 15. Okay, I'm going to use 2 rows of the 15s to make it a bit wider. But everything else, I'm going to do 1 row, or am I? I might do a double row of this. Anyway, let's kick off. So a Cellini spiral is essentially tubular peyote. Okay, as most of you will know, when you are doing peyote, the first row is always the first 2 rows that you pick up to start. Okay, and it's the same when you're doing it in the round. So if we want 1 row of the 6s, we actually pick up 2 to start. Okay, so I will start picking up all of these beads. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Now, do I want double row of this pink? This is the decision point. I'm going to give it a try. So if I want 2 rows, I need to pick up 4 beads. And then just 1 row of this, so I pick up 2. And then I want 2 rows of 15s, so I'm going to pick up 4. Okay? That is half of my Cellini. So now I just work in the opposite direction until I get back to the 6s. Okay? So I make it a mirror image of this. 2 of these, 4 of these, 2 of this green, 2 of this lovely aqua with an AB finish, 2 matte pink, and 2 of these. Now I only want 1 row of 6s, so I don't add another one. Okay, so that is going to be the start of my spiral. Now we need to join it into a circle. Hopefully I can do this without making a mess of all of the beads on the mat. I'll just bring it down the thread a little bit. And what I'm actually doing here is I've got quite a long thread, but I have got a very long tail on it because I'm going, so I'm just putting it out, you can't see it's out of shot, it's probably a good wingspan of tail because we can come back and use that later. Right, I'm going to go through all of these beads. Get a knot, no, that's just the tail, let me shorten that a little bit. Let's go through the rest. So doing this just gives you a firm start. I'm going to go through and exit this, both 6s. Okay, so we've got this, you can see it's a mirror image on both sides, and that's where we start from. So our next row is going to be technically the 3rd row, and that's when we start doing the real peyote. Okay, Okay, so let's get started. Now, depending on which way you want this to spiral, and my natural instinct is to spiral, well, as in the other big two that I've done. So the way, excuse me, I'm just going to repeat that because I didn't have my microphone on. Okay, so depending on which way you want it to spiral, and this one will spiral as in the other two that you've seen pictured, the green and purple one and the goldy one. So my mantra is, whichever bead you're coming out of, you pick up that bead. So I'm coming out of a pink, I pick up a pink. As with peyote, you skip one bead and go in the next. So I'm coming out of the green 8, I pick up a green 8. Skip one, go in the next. Coming out of the matte pink 8, pick up a matte pink 8. Skip one, go in the next. And you keep doing that all around. Okay, so that 8 will sit on top of that 11, yeah? Now I'm into the 11s. And when you do 2 rows, like I'm going to have 2 rows of the pinks here. Let me not call it a row actually, because what we're doing are the rows. The actual colours will be the stripes, if you like. So I'll call them stripes. So the pink stripe is too wide. So that's your first pink. And then your second pink. I don't know if you notice, but to keep a firm tension after each one, I'm wrapping it over my finger like that and holding it. And that helps keep a tension. However you do your tension, whatever works for you, I recommend you stay with that. You need a firm-ish tension with this. It can be too tight. Whoops, I just caught the thread there. Let me unhook that. Okay, so there is the 11 sitting on top of the 15. So our 15 stripe is too wide. So the rule still applies. I'm coming out of this 15, I pick up a 15. It's just the bead you're going into will always be the next one in the sequence. Can you see the sort of spiral pattern beginning to happen? Now the thing is with this, you will get into a rhythm and no doubt you will make a mistake. No doubt. I'm hoping I don't make a mistake while I'm filming. I'm trying to concentrate. But it just happens. You know, you get distracted, you think you know what you're doing. Quite often it happens when on these double stripes, when you've picked up one colour and then you think you're on to the next colour. But oh no, you've got to do 2 of that colour. It depends on your sequence. Just coming to the end of this round now. last bead. I'm going into this 6 here. So when you get into a rhythm, you can add the last bead and step up at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to do it all at the same time, go through 2 6s at once. If you start with the 6, you'll always have to step up at the 6. So that is a good way to remember where your step up is, okay? And being on the biggest bead, it's easier to see the step up. If you do it down here in the 15s, it's much harder to see the step up, okay? So at the moment you can see it's flat, okay? Once you've done a few rows, it will start to form a tube. But we have to do a few rows before that happens. So I'm going to do the 4th row now. And it's just the same. It's a nice rhythm. Whichever bead you're coming out of, you pick up that bead. Yep. Now if you pull it tight, I can feel it cupping there. Yep. So if you leave it too loose, it won't cup quite as early and you'll have to give it a bit of encouragement. But I do like to give the thread quite a strong pull after doing each stitch. And then holding it over my finger. And then that really helps with the tension. I can't get in the edge of the bead mat. Cool, I must adjust my setup. Just avoiding a tangle before it starts here. Okay, let's carry on. Getting to the 15s. Obviously this is the slightly fiddlier bit. Oops. Sorry. It's a little bit tricky to bead over a camera, I must say. Okay, see, that's really sort of to form into a tube now. This side is still flat, but that side's really come up. Okay, working round to the other side now. Finished the 11s. Back onto the 8s. Really sort of form it into a tube there. Oops, nearly picked up the wrong one. Coming out of a pink, pick up a pink. See, there's quite a big gap there. So when we put this one on and pull it, it's really going to form it into a tube. See that move? Yeah. Okay, let's finish off this row by adding the last 8, and then we're stepping up. We're finishing off the row by going for the first 6, and then the next 6 is the step up. So let me pull that and then pull it tight. Okay. I like to get the 6s between my fingers and squash it. Okay, so it's not going to be a nice simple tube. We're making a spiral here, yeah? So it's sort of that offset sort of tube look, okay? So don't worry about it being a slightly weird shape. It's forming the spiral, okay? So if you've pulled it tight enough, after you've got these 4 rows done, you should have it forming a tube rather than it being flat. Okay, I am going to add 1 more row. Go through the 8s. I think this is the point where you know whether you're going to like the colours together or not, because you can really see what the mix looks like. So if you decide you don't like the colours, now is a good time to stop and start again before you get too far. I'll have a good look at this at the end of this row to see if I like the colours. I think I've changed my mind a few times, and then just before I decided to do this demo, I'm not quite sure. I'm going to swap out some colours. I was sure I was going to do pink and blue, and then I had pink and blue and green, and then I thought, blue is just not working. So I took it out and added a couple of different greens. Okay, so I'm coming up to finish this row. Just add in the last 11. Then we're back onto the 8s. And the pink. And then the green 8 is the last one in our row. So we go through the first 6 and then the second 6. If you're only going through 1 6, it will go wrong, okay? So if you're thinking of going through this 6 only, no. If you're going through this 6 only, there's nowhere to go after, is there? Okay? So both of the 6s. And there we are. So give the 6s a little prod, and there we are. So do I like this or not? Oops, whoops, whoops, whoops. I've added the wrong colour. That is this colour. It should be this colour. Well, I'm not going to bore you and unpick it on the video, but I will fix that. Now, I don't know about you, but if you're going through a big bead, you can probably pass the needle back through, but once you get to smaller beads, you're very likely to split the thread if you're using thread. So unthread it and redo it that way. Okay. Okay, that's it for now. You can get started with your Cellini. If you have any questions, let me know, and I can help you answer them. So if you're doing the jumbo Cellini, don't get too carried away. Don't do too wide a strip, okay? Probably, maybe 6 to 8 centimeters maybe, and then we'll want to start looking at decreasing. Of course, if you're doing a smaller Cellini, you might only have an 8, 2 or 3 11s and a 15. You may not want to decrease, okay? So the number of beads you use is completely up to you. If you look at the other video that I did, I have explained what the different profiles are you get from beading a Cellini. So you make the choices and you start with the correct number of beads, okay? Just go by the rule that the first round You always need 2 of each stripe. Okay, happy beading, and I will fix my boo-boo, and I shall do a bit more and come back to you later in the next video.